It's, okay, there we go.
Okay. All right, it's 7 p.m. I'll call library board to order. Roll call.
All right, Chair Marie Hotta,
Here.
Vice Chair Andy Sakaris,
Here.
Bryn Dunning,
Here.
Scott Gilbert,
Here.
Edie Hughes,
Here.
Gina Phelps.
Here.
And
The library will close in 30 minutes. Public computers will shut down in 20 minutes. Thank you.
You know you. I didn't know there was a 7 o'clock. So that's, yeah, we're trying to do 7, 7:15, 7:25 for all 3 people that are in. We'll keep that in mind for next.
excused Maggie Burns. Staff, we have Director Christina Underhill and Library and Cultural Arts Manager Bethany Lafferty. And so we have Gina Oberdeen just arrived. City Council Liaison Chelsea Noonenkamp and Inglewood School Liaison Dwayne Tucker.
All right, next up is the election officers.
So we'll be electing a chair, a vice chair. So if you're interested, you can volunteer yourself, or if you know somebody you want to elect or recommend, you can also do that. So you want to start with vice chair first or chair first?
We did chair first and
Chair
vice chair
and
last
Okay, let's do
year.
chair first.
I'm happy to continue on as chair.
Okay.
I didn't know if anyone else wanted to speak.
But no, seriously, I wish you ran all the meetings where I work. They would, something would get done and it wouldn't have, 5 hours, so that would be great.
Any other nominations?
Okay, who made the motion?
I'll motion that, I guess.
Okay,
I motion to give her all the power all the time.
I second that.
Great.
All right, so vice chair.
Oh, wait, I think we need to vote.
Oh, go.
Favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thanks, everyone.
Welcome back.
I'll continue running.
Excellent. All right, vice chair.
I mean, am I gonna get a sash this time? Yeah, I'm happy to serve unless someone else is really super excited about it. But also would love to give someone another opportunity, but more than happy to continue in my role.
Happy to nominate Andy as the vice chair.
Look at it. Second meeting, look at that.
Second. All right, we got a first, second, Gina first, second.
Bryn.
All in favor? Anyone opposed?
Cool. Okay, thanks, everyone. Minute.
I'll move to approve unless you folks need more time to read.
All second.
Great.
All in favor of approving minutes from February?
You're good.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Based on the pilot, based on the pilot, I'd say-
Any opposed? Okay, cool.
Remind us
All right, and there's no public comment, I believe. So we can move on to the statistical. Okay. So I don't see what's going on. I did include, or I just want to clarify for days of service, because we opened for curbside pickup on February 1st, I considered those days of service, even though they were limited. So we were just Monday through Friday, and we did have one holiday in there. So we had 19 days of service. We didn't have any physical visitors into the library because everything was just out at the curbside. So that kind of information is more reflected in the checkouts because that's the only thing we're doing. And of course, we did not have any meeting room sessions or study room usage or computer usage. We did have a fair amount of questions that were answered over the phone and via email. So over 500 questions were answered throughout the month. So that's actually pretty good. We had a lot of people reaching out to just confirm what was available and like that. Programming was actually really great for children's. They had 25 programs. And it was the same number of programs they had last February, and they were only 60, attendees short compared to last year. And since we had this kind of temporary closure and the programs were running upstairs, so I feel like that's, given the circumstances, that's still really good turnout for our programs. They had even more outreach programs for children than last year. And then the same thing for the teens. We're, continuing to do outreach to the middle school and high school. So we're increasing what we're able to offer for youth and teens. And even the one teen program we had half the attendance of that 6 programs had last year. So I still feel like we're really, really strong with the programming there. The only thing that the children's team canceled during February were the teen hangouts on Tuesday evenings and the messy process art, because those 2 things weren't going to work out in the spaces we had available upstairs. So adult programming was actually interesting because we had half as many programs, but just the same attendance. So that's actually also kind of promising. For February, we did not have Resource Connect. We weren't doing any computer classes or some of the like the tech assist things that we offer during the week. We didn't have any of that stuff going on either. So, and we didn't have any incidents. So
I'm like really thrilled.
don't worry, March is here now.
I'm thrilled at like the whole, like people were picking up their whole.
Yeah. Once we got open, I think that we had a good response to people coming, and even before we officially started doing curbside, we were reaching out to people that had like 3 or more books to pick up to say, hey, let's set up an appointment. You can come get your items. And we were kind of like selective curbside pickup. We do have a ton of holds right now, way more than we normally do. And it's because some people probably just chose not to get their things, even though we kept them. But we will be clearing out the hold shelf on Friday of anything that has been expired. Because we've had things that like should have expired at the end of January, early February, that we've kept out there just out of just good faith to try to give people a chance since we were closed. But those people that didn't come, those will all get released on Friday. And all the other usage is kind of pretty much on par. And I feel like, I don't know if I mentioned this previously about Hoopla, that like the Hoopla numbers are generally kind of fixed per month because we have like a fixed monthly budget. So those are never really going to be like huge numbers here and there. We might increase a little bit because sometimes they offer some freebie stuff that like don't count against our budget. So we're just continuing to learn more and more about like the different things that Hoopla offers.
It's basically max out every month.
Yes, yeah. And if we, when we do, and it kind of lets people know like you can't check anything out, sometimes it will go over a little bit and then it like takes away from the next month. Or if we are under, our allotment is, I believe, $3,000 a month. So if we did like 2,600, it kind of rolls over. So like we'll use the full amount we spend on Hoopla every year. Any questions about any of the statistics? Okay, so this one will requesting an approval.
Okay.
At the end. So kind of updated a few things too from the last one, because like the mission statement one that was on there was actually specific for the police department. So I don't know, because when I was looking for it, I was like, this is police department's page. So I went to like the strategic plan and also the like posters we have throughout the city, the mission, vision, and values, and made sure that we included that more clearly for that, because it was a little, I thought it sounded a little strange. And then, so that, I did put that full stuff on there. I was trying to also. I was trying to, maybe I didn't include that because it was a little, it didn't make sense. I was trying to put something from the strategic plan that addresses the library, but it's kind of a little bit jumbled, but I think it was like the well-being goals is where mostly the library fits into the city's strategic plan. So anyway, so for this year, like the things that we really want to focus on are developing a formal volunteer program with some specific things that we'll do in pursuing that. So getting an interest form that would essentially like an application for a person to fill out to let us know, you know, when they're available, what their contact information is there something specific that they're interested in helping in? Like, do they just want to shelve books? Do they want to help with a program or something like that? So that'll kind of give us a sense of what potential volunteers might want to do. If they have any special skills, like maybe they're a retired library worker or something like that. So we're going to start working on that, and we hope to have that finished at the beginning of April. And then the week of April 16th is National Volunteer Week. So I was kind of hoping that that would be how we would launch, hey, our formal volunteer program is restarting, and kind of push it out from there and work with communications to promote that. And then we'll simultaneously be doing a checklist of different projects and training things that we would do with new volunteers. It is sort of the idea that one of our new full-time librarians would be the coordinator of the volunteer staff. So that this is having that additional full-time staff member is helping this particular goal be possible. And then the projects would, things like I mentioned, program assistance, either book sorting or shelving, and sorting, meaning the donations, and potentially materials repair. So sometimes we get books with like the Mylar covers right after the labels are falling off, and they might help in technical services and stuff like that. So that's just a few of the potential projects we would have them do. And then we would work with volunteers to formalize a book donation process, and then from there plan our first book sale. And that sort of in the longer term, bigger picture would help lead us towards potentially the development of a friends group.
Friends group, sorry.
Yeah. So that's the volunteer program goal. Implement the cultural arts passes. Yeah, sure.
The book sale, when you say into the future, what does that mean? Is that like this year, or does that mean like in 5 years?
I don't think this year, but potentially next year. Because I think too, if we can have a successful book sale, that can give us, I just feel like that's going to be a real good impetus for, this is a great program that we need lots of people help with. And then that can start developing funding that could go into like an account that the Friends of the Library would manage. Because when the library just does it, it will just go into a donations fund that we have for the library to use. But then I think that type of activity that people can gather around and work on and plan will help kind of be the first project that type of group could focus on doing, and then kind of grow from there. So that I feel like within a year or two to get it off the ground. I've never helped start a 501c3, so like that would be the goal, is that it would be a completely separate 501c3. Plus I need to learn how that can. Yeah.
I wanted to ask kind of about the process for accepting book donations. Is this a process of basically to try to train members of the public not to bring in 1972
The library will close in 15 minutes.
Yeah, so like we would have guidelines for
check out at
what
this time.
we would accept So that would be part of it. The other part of the process would be going through things too, because like people are still gonna donate what they donate. And like having volunteers who can look at things and know this is not gonna be something that we can resell, or this condition is poor, or this is a textbook that's outdated, and know like what we can recycle, what we can hang on to, and like creating a process too for how do we organize it, because if we can organize fiction materials, nonfiction, and like hopefully a nonfiction sort of by subject. So like having that kind of organization process, because that will help make the sale more successful if you're organized from the get-go.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that would be what that would include.
Is the recycling of that cost the library?
No, and we do sometimes, so we have another partnership with a group called Dream Books. They pick up materials from us and they actually pay us for what they take.
Oh,
So sometimes that's how we recycle is we give stuff to them. Sometimes they'll give us a value for every item we give them, and sometimes they don't. But then whatever that they don't keep, they do the actual recycling. So we actually sort of can get money out of that process. So, and then there might be things too that we're like, this is a really popular author who has a huge backlist, and this is a brand new copy. We want to put this in our collection. So sometimes donations might help supplement our collection as well. So it's like James Patterson, people are always going to want to read his books, but they get worn out. Sometimes you get donations of nice condition stuff that you can replace for free. So.
And then what's the Friends of the Library group?
Okay, so a Friends of the Library group is generally like almost like a boosters for the public library. We don't currently have one. So it's a nonprofit fundraising group that supports a public library with funding for things that we might have a gap in with our regular budget. And a lot of times that's for materials or programming. In particular, maybe other special projects, like we're going to replace some of this furniture or something like that, but predominantly it would mostly be materials and programming support.
Yeah, and you couldn't believe they hold special events. In the last city, we did black tie in the stacks. And so we actually did a formal dinner. It was $100 per person to come in, and it sold out in 2 days. It makes a lot of money for the library. And so it's things we can look forward to in our future of supporting this library further.
Yeah, and like book sales are often like kind of the backbone of a friends group, but then they'll develop other fundraising opportunities, and they often become your formal volunteer group as well. So.
So stay tuned.
Yeah.
No, it sounds exciting.
I'm happy to help with the C3 stuff and,
Okay,
and that will allow us to like approach Verizon and say we need computers. Like right now, there's no vessel for corporations or someone want to say, I want to give $1 million to the library. There's no vessel because it's a city-owned property. I tried to, get a Google AdWords grant and, it's $10,000 a month and free Google AdWords. And then you have a C3.
Yeah.
And so,
That's the other thing too. It will also help us get additional grant funding because the Friends group can apply for grants on behalf of the library. So they would be a recipient of the grant, but then the money would then transfer over to the library to utilize through the Friends group. So it's just a really great way to kind of supplement things that we would like to be able to do. Yeah.
one quick clarification on this. Are you sort of going like number of hours you want? How many sort of like, will this replace it? Not replace. It'd be an additional sort of full FTE worth of time every month. What do you sort of see as sort of this level of sort of volume? What's success look like in this?
I think I would say easily if we were able to cover a good 20 to 30 hours of volunteer, because I would really love to have a good group of volunteers, especially helping us with shelving, because that's work that our library associates wouldn't have to do, because that takes them away from service desks and can kind of make our service points a little bit weaker staffed if we have to have somebody out on the floor. So having volunteers that can really work on that kind of stuff would be great. And then of course, like the book sorting stuff for taking donations and getting that stuff organized, because that has to happen behind the scenes and it can be very, time consuming and stuff like that. But that would be another great thing, because then we have people that can do that so that the library staff can do the library work.
They're already storage space. available?
Not specifically, we're trying to rearrange some of our storage area, and I'm trying to hold on to, an office space, Steffi's little office. Trying to hold on to that for us. We have the IT department moving into the back dock area, so I'm trying to hold on to that space that we might be able to either use it for offices for our staff or use it for storage. So, yeah, and then I think there's a lot of moving parts with our different spaces where we might find more room. So.
The storage unit that's sort of just across the street from you all, they've been helpful in a couple nonprofits donating
Oh, that's
space as
interesting.
well.
That's a good idea.
For
Oh, storage.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, they're pretty generous. So they may be, I don't know how that would work, but maybe a way
Okay.
to at least get the books out of
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Okay. The next one is the cultural passes. We're actually really well underway on this. So right now, we're in the final stages of completing our contracts with the participating organizations, and then we plan to have the passes kind of launched, like soft launched, kind of they'll be on the site. We're building that right now. Not all of, like Carrie is working with communications to build that section of the website where people can look at what organizations passes are available. And then there's a link to what's called a Tips Keeper, where they can request the passes and you kind of get like a virtual pass. It's either like a QR code or something else that you print that allows you to take to that organization and for free. And you basically get full membership access because we're basically buying memberships to these different organizations. I think right now we just signed the stuff for Denver Botanic Gardens, or something else today, Western Art or something like that. I forgot the name of it exactly. Then we have, I'm drawing a blank on it, miniatures, dolls and miniatures and toys.
Art museum.
The Denver Art Museum is actually, we're not having it the same way with them, but they're donating several free passes to us. So those are things that we're just gonna be able to kind of give out, but they won't be through our Tips Keeper thing. Same with Meow Wolf, they're just giving us some passes. And then we have like the Nature and Science Museum, we're doing Wings Over the Rockies. No, we don't have the zoo.
Okay.
What's that? State parks? State parks we already have, so that's something when we get to the state library, so we'll continue to have that.
But will that be part of like this program?
I think we might put it in there so that people can reserve it, like if they know, I'm gonna be going on vacation on this weekend, and they can reserve that reserve one of the state park passes. Because that's the thing that Tips Keeper allows us to do, is people can reserve it for a specific date, so they'll have it available. So it's just not hit or miss when you come. So that's all kind of underway. Then we will be adding additional kind of non-traditional items. So like the book club kits will be in a kit keeper. And again, it gives you the benefit of being able to reserve in advance a specific title that you want for like your outside book club. And then will also give us a way to kind of promote that we have those titles a little bit more. And then we have storytime bins, homeschool kits, a collection of board games. Those will all kind of go into that kit keeper so that you can check out and reserve things that are just kind of non-traditional 3-dimensional items. And then we will kind of do a real strong promotion of this during National Library Week, which will be at the end of the week. Any questions on that item?
I don't know if this is like the right time, but I think that the branding that is on the book returns outside and like library cards be really useful in these library communities. I should have like thought of this sooner, but I almost missed the postcard that came in the mail because it kind of blended in with all the other junk mail. Whereas if it had the library like colorful splash on it, I would have known that's what that. So I think that that's a message to mention to people.
Yeah, I have to get with them too, because it's not actually formally adopted.
Okay, and that's what I was.
So that's,
So just keep using.
we
it.
just have to,
Yeah.
we just have to say it formally adopted as a logo, I think.
Okay.
Because we don't,
Include
there's
it
never a
somehow.
problem that we use it, that I've heard, but I know they don't because they're, this is
fit
their
their
logo.
So maybe there's a happy medium there
Yeah.
that they could come up with.
But you got the postcard.
I got the postcard. Oh, yeah.
No,
I
that's
was
great.
thrilled to
The
get-
library will close in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Please finish
I
your
kinda
work
like
and
that.
head toward the
No,
exit.
that's good
Thanks for
feedback
listening.
actually for communications in my opinion.
And I think that it would make, if we're not really like doing our own social media and it's going more to, it would make it splash on screen as like the library.
Good to know. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah. Seems like.
Okay, so the next item is the partnerships with Inglewood schools. And so this is something that we're going to really start working on in the, like, probably start in April. But revisiting the ability to issue school ID-based library cards so that like kids can just use a school ID or just their name to access, like have a library card account basically because they're a student at Englewood School. So we have to work with Marmot, who runs our integrated library system, and figure out how we do that. There are other libraries across the state that do it, so we know it's possible. We just have to kind of restart that effort for Englewood. So that's something that Kimberly and I will be working on together. And then we're going to evaluate the Access 360 usage and see if we can't get a transition to Overdrive that the schools would use to get ebooks through Overdrive, because there's a different selection of titles that are available. And Overdrive is now offering kind of like a school-friendly format that allows them to kind of limit what titles are available that are specific for ages and grades and things like that. So we're going to work on figuring out how we get that kind of dual use. And then once these things are kind of in place, then we would work on creating or planning visits to schools to provide instruction on how you use your school-based library card or how you use this new Overdrive feature. So we're hoping we'll get those things in place and then that. And then I would just say kind of on a side note for the schools, like they're definitely creating a kind of a more social partnership, if you will, where we're doing the club visits and things like that. So that's something that's kind of been ongoing. So I feel like that will sort of fit in there a little bit too, in particular regarding like updates that we might have each, is how well those are going. So, if there's any suggestions you have for how we might partner with this, let us know.
If you can speak first,
No,
but,
go ahead, go ahead.
I think that there's there's a little bit of a disconnect between the schools and the city things, and I think that the schools should be using the library more to get the word out, get like about enrollment and big dates, and so I would that to be, a focus.
I agree with that. We've just started rolling out a whole new campaign to send our kindergartners here.
Yeah.
Who are you working with? Do you have anybody?
No, not that,
identified
yeah,
yet?
not yet.
Let's touch base afterwards. I'll
Okay.
give you the right people to talk to.
Great.
Okay.
I know last year there was some funding issues around, I think it was the summer reading program. Have we sort of sorted that out with Inglewood? Do you think that there's going to be money to support that program over the summer?
Not that Kimberly's communicated that kind of has pretty much dried up.
Yeah.
We're also trying to rework an agreement for access to Tumble Books, which is another kind of online ebook format that we share with the school. The school's portion is going to decrease a little bit. They are still going to contribute to that cost, and we're going to pick up about 75% of the cost, I think, but the school will contribute 25%. So we're reworking how we share that right now, because the funding is just not really available from the schools right now.
So when we talked about that last year, and you charged me with, what was the exact phrase, I think? Taken out underneath the couch?
Yes.
Yeah, we went back and I had a conversation with the superintendent. We were trying to figure out a way to find some extra money, and whatever we were contributing then, we weren't able to come up with it.
That's the other thing too, just going kind of looping back to the volunteer thing and doing the book sales. Like our intention for the first book sale is for that to fund the following summer reading. Because it would be great if we could develop a funding source for summer reading completely, so that our regular children's department budget just does regular programming throughout the year, and then we have a separate source that funds our summer reading.
That's
And I think that
that's
was,
an easy corporate sponsorship.
Yeah,
and
and that's the thing, because everybody would love to support kids,
Yeah.
come out and buy the books, so.
And we could market all of those things through all the school publications as well.
Yeah. That would be
What
great.
is like typically the budget for some?
So, the expense of the summer reading program is generally about $7,000 to $8,000. And Kimberly's budget has historically been about 10,000 for the whole year for all programming.
What causes what are the costs related to the summer
So the
reading
cost
program?
for summer reading include the big prize for participation is getting a book at the end. So purchasing books to give away to participants that complete the reading program. And then we always have performers. So there's a different performer every week for summer reading. We do an 11-week summer reading program, because it's basically from when school ends till school starts. So the entire summer, length of the summer. So that's 11 performers, and the performers are usually about 3,000 to 3,500 for all of those performers throughout the summer. And then just the programming supplies that they have. And then we buy little prizes too for summer reading, so just little tchotchke kind of stuff. But it sort of adds up, because there's several hundred kids that participate every summer.
I have one quick question. I know there's that hidden pot of Broncos money.
Yeah, it's in the back pocket.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, I see, is that something that would relate to this, or is that more sort of physical play?
Nope, I think we have 20,000 allocated. The council hasn't heard about it yet or even talked about it yet. No, but it's been in discussion. I mean, we're talking about getting a new train for the train park. Now that might be on the bond that's coming out in the fall, and now that frees up a lot of money. So we've allocated 20,000 towards this. We pretty much said just move through this budget season and just use your budget, and then we'll figure it out kind of after the summer hits.
And that was when we were approached to say, hey, what would you use this? We were like, summer reading, hands down, easiest decision. So that's what it would be for us, so.
they put their heart and soul in it.
Oh,
We're waiting for staff to come back to us.
Yeah, 100%.
Like how we want to use that money. One thing that I would put on your radar and on your radar is that the council has greenlit a pilot for a youth advisory council as part of our board and commission process.
Oh, that's great.
So right now, this commission of Parks and Rec and cultural arts, they have youth members as an option, but we don't see a lot of engagement, because oftentimes I think young people are maybe more intimidated about serving with adults, especially if they're like the only young member. And so an advisory commission that's really kind of for them, by them, is the vision of what piloting something that would look like. And I think getting their input, especially on programs that are designed for young people in the city, is really important. And so I brought this up with the council school board advisory committee that we have with Katie and Julie about how do we engage, council members can come to the school and pitch the idea and really invite kids to participate. And then also thinking about Kimberly's programming and some of the work that you guys are looking to design. How can we ensure that we're cross-pollinating those kids into some of those opportunities and using their voice to help guide some of the programming. So that's just making you aware of that.
Cool. That's great. Yeah, so that's the bit about, trying to increase some partnership with the schools. The next one was staff development. So hire our newly approved staff, which that actually has been completed. So we have 2 full-time librarians and 4 additional part-time library associates. So that just the last kind of batch of associates started yesterday. And then we're working on the training process of our new hires and establishing some standing procedures for new hire training. And kind of in achieving that part, we're developing some kind of staff committees internally within the library. And there will be sort of a training committee that's dedicated to creating training plans and checklists of things that all new hires need to learn, then also volunteering to be a staff member that the new hires would shadow. So we're developing that right now as well. We do want to have 2 staff in-service days during the calendar year, not just focus on kind of specific projects. that we might be working on and trying to complete. And then there'll be one formal staff development day that focuses on specific type of training and professional development. That's sort of a later item. And then just ongoing training and learning opportunities. We've had a couple of people doing some online webinars right now, like course series about public library marketing. And then Carrie's, I think, also doing one about community engagement, needs assessments. And then the tech services team is participating in things for collection development, learning about upcoming titles and kind of how to diversify your collection and how to evaluate collections and things like that to broaden selections or hone in on what are the things that your community wants. So there's that happening. We'll have a few of us going to a safety conference in April. And then there's just like kind of regular conferences and that coming up.
So, like librarian professional development, is there a minimum like hours per year that you all have to have, or is that just more of like just your passion and your interest?
Yeah, I mean, there's not like licensure for librarians. So there's not like annual CEUs or anything like that anybody has to complete. I think that I'm passionate about making sure people continue to learn new things, and providing opportunities for them to do that. So, I'm just like looking for that and like asking and suggesting that people participate in things, because the more engaged I can keep them, the more that they will participate and learn, and that impacts their job performance and stuff like that. So we don't have requirements, but I think most people are interested in doing those kinds of things though. Yeah, so that's the staff development part, really kind of focusing on providing, strong foundation for staff development, and the training hires. And then the last part is just the library marketing. So like I mentioned, we do have some staff that have been doing some marketing training last month and this month. We've been working with communications a lot more. We're still doing some of our own social media, but they're helping us out with kind of more broad messaging and things like that. While we're still doing kind of more targeted programming things and stuff like that. But it does help to have them kind of backing us up with some things and helping us get through the website and things like that. So we're working with communications a bit more. And then Carrie and I and one of our new librarians, Hannah, we will be working on putting together tools for planning a needs assessment this year. So we're not necessarily going to implement a needs assessment this year, but we're going to get things organized, and then hopefully that will be something that we're kind of kicking off the new year doing and getting a bit more community engagement. So that's it. Trying to keep it manageable and short. Great.
Like last month you had, is it Bethany or Beth? I'm sorry.
Either way.
Okay. Last month you had mentioned that during the library's closure that it gave your staff an opportunity to work on some projects. And you had mentioned that you were working on a backlog of, I don't know, it was like library card holders who had been inactive.
Oh, yeah.
And so I was just kind of curious how that project was going, and I think you were preparing for then the password project.
Yeah.
I don't know if I should say that now, but I was just kind of curious how that was going, because it's such a great opportunity to have.
Yeah,
time to work on a project.
we've made some progress with the kind of, it's like a two-pronged approach we have to take to purging accounts, because we have some of our inactive library accounts that have fines and fees on them. So we are trying to assess who has outstanding fines and fees that are likely uncollectible because they're X number of years old. And because those things are all often tied to actual material records. So it's like a whole process. And then once we clean that up, then we'll be kind of deleting out all these expired accounts. We haven't actually done it yet, Because we're making sure we don't do something irreversible and that we've got it correct the way we want it to be. So we're pretty close though to making that purge happen, so that we have all these accounts kind of cleared out of our system. And then we're working with Marmot, the consortium that we work with for our integrated library system, to clean up our patron type categories, because that's the other thing we learned was we have patron account information mislabeled, if you will. So we have a misrepresentation of how many Englewood residents are our card holders. Because the data that we get in the statistical report is skewed because when we exclude everybody who's labeled as a non-resident, we just say the rest are residents, but that's not actually true because some of those are not actually categorized as a resident or a non-resident, ambiguous. So we're trying to clean that part up too, and we're working with them to do that. Right? So, and then the passwords, we sent out an email last weekend. Did you get an email?
I got one.
Anybody see
Yeah,
that?
I got it.
I know.
And we put it on social
I saw it on
media. We
social
did put it on social media. We used the library card.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Marmot provided us graphics, but it was so generic and I was like, we need to use our own library card. So that's actually me holding a library card. So we're pushing that out and informing people. Like I had a guy ask me about it today, and so we'll be putting up a banner on the catalog page and then on the main library site that explains like what your default password would be when you'll have to make the change. And basically people have until July 20.
So it's possible to make the password.
No, not yet.
Oh, not
Like
yet.
it doesn't
Okay.
go live until March 20.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. So we're just trying to like let people know it's coming.
Yeah.
And then March 28th, we'll be prepared to help people do it and give them instructions on how they can do it themselves on the way.
So for the action plan, are there other questions? How do we just say?
I think we move to approve, right?
Move to approve it, okay.
I'll move to approve the action plan.
I'll second. All right, all in favor of approving the action plan? Aye. Anyone opposed? All right. Good work. All right. So, budgets. And now $3,000 in bucks for fun. Lots to do this in life. We will be requesting 2/3 of the budget today. So you'll see listed, public library safety summit. That is, the conference in Columbus, Ohio, that myself, Carrie Watson and Corinne Barnett will attend. It's like a day and a half summit, regarding, safety and security, processes and concerns for public libraries specifically. There is a big emphasis on large urban library systems, but even though we're a small library, we are in an urban setting, so a lot of these same things kind of scaled down for us are relevant. So we'll be going to that. So that's what we're, I think we talked about this last month, so we were gonna request $800 for the safety summit, because that will cover 3 conference registrations. For summer reading, because we're actually going to utilize some of our money that's in the donors fund this year for summer reading, we're only going to ask for $700 for the summer reading program from the board. And then the library art exhibits, this is something new that I'm doing this year, where the library is hosting local artists to exhibit their work, and we're doing it on like a theme. So the first one that will start April 6th is called The Great Outdoors. So artwork that's inspired by, outdoors. We already have 9 artists that have submitted work for showing. So I wanted to request $500 to support hosting receptions for the artists for each one of the different art exhibits. So there'll be 5 exhibits. I didn't have
$500 for all of you.
Yeah, so basically $100 each exhibit. just so that we can have some like light refreshments during the exhibit or like the reception that we'll do, which I believe I have to coordinate it. No, we're actually gonna do them on Thursday evenings. We were gonna try to do it after hours, but I think we're gonna do them on Thursday evenings. And we'll just have a reception kind of out in the circle area and oh, here it is. Yeah, so there's 5 exhibits. And then the themes will be, the first one is great outdoors. Then we'll have, we're gonna do a inspired by the summer reading theme all together now. So just pushing that theme out there to inspire artists to create something that embodies that kind of concept. And then in August, it'll be steampunk. And then October will be found objects, and December will be photography. So those are the 5 categories.
Steampunk.
Steampunk, I
Am I
don't
the
know.
only one that doesn't know this?
It's sort of an art.
I'm the only
theme.
one that doesn't know that.
Somebody tell me when I go wrong, so I am a boomer, I think it's really late, but, it's sort of an art theme in which like old industrial kind of, gear is used, mixed with, sort of gothic themes sometimes, and,
So here's the Wikipedia definition.
oh.
A
that's not something-
subgenre of science fiction that incorporates retro futuristic technology and aesthetics inspired by 19th century industrial steam powered machines, I think. Machinery, yeah. So there you go.
It's pretty cool.
But
It is pretty cool.
when you talked about the summit, you don't have travel expenses?
We have a budget for that, like, we have a
Oh,
budget
okay.
for travel. But our kind of training budget is sort of limited, so that's why like covering the cost of the registration is definitely really helpful. So like, we have the other part covered by the city.
Gotcha.
And having the registration covered will allow us to do other trainings that staff can attend in conferences.
What was the best, art exhibit?
Photography, yeah.
Oh, you're good.
I was just gonna
I know
ask,
what that is.
are you sure 700 is all you need for a like, at this point?
Yes, okay, it is. Because we want to, I kind of, shared with Kimberly that my impression is that the library board wants to support summer reading in some way. So that's why we're just gonna kind of cut it back a little bit, because we do have this like donation pot of money that really hasn't been used for several years. So we're gonna kind of use that with the intention that until we get a friends group, the library will be able to replenish that through the book sales that we capture. So yeah, and then the remaining $1,000 will kind of like later in maybe early summer or late summer, early fall, we'll have like requests, because we think that will go towards maybe like a staff event or definitely trunk or treat.
Okay.
Yeah, and some other events that are later.
Okay.
Is there any thought of, with the art exhibits pre-COVID, like in that other world, used to put the arm on local restaurants to get them to contribute, to like cater.
We also are being included in the sponsorship packet that, like the events team puts out. So like, hopefully we'll get some community groups or restaurants or something that will want to sponsor. Because I think our sponsorship level is still just $100. So if there's like an organization that wants to support the city or events that are happening in the city, it's a smaller option that they could choose to sponsor the library art exhibits. So we do have that's going out in the sponsorship packet. I don't know when that stuff kind of goes public, but
It's public.
it is
out,
already.
yeah.
Okay,
It was out early January.
okay.
Yeah, and it may be something that I agree that there's a lot of restaurants that stepped up and helped out, and that kind of changed
A
during.
lot of
the
restaurants I
so-
started going to after eating their free chow here.
Well, that's some sponsors.
Yeah.
Go out to eat, help out.
Okay.
Yeah, and I feel like that might be something that even if we said, we'll purchase this amount, can you do an in-kind donation and match it?
Oh,
Yeah.
So that might be something that I'll look into as I plan the reception. So the first reception, I don't think it's gonna be until April 20th,
would be the first one for the bid.
Yeah, if you haven't, I mean, I think partnering with the chamber too, you know, I think the chamber is sort of a great conduit to a lot of the businesses in a much easier fashion than trying to like find contact information and things. So I'm assuming the city's a member of the chamber.
The word partner.
Yeah, so I think that may be an easy way out to their, especially their food and beverage vendors.
So that's the monetary ask right now.
Anyone have? That or?
I agree with you. March instead
Yeah.
of December 15th, oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Need a motion.
I'll move to approve that. My day to move to approve.
So
I'll second.
$800 for the, did you write it all down? Have the numbers?
I do.
Okay.
800, 700, and 500.
All in favor of approving this funds request?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. All right. Move on to new business and the reopening of the library.
Yay, we're open.
It was so nice to walk in.
It was, I know, it was really exciting yesterday to reopen and get the doors back and people. So we did have one incident yesterday. We had to call our mobile response unit to come in and get individual, but other than that, it went really smoothly. Fox 31 came out. It's been a good hour and a half, I think, in the library. They interviewed me and then just walked around and got B-roll the whole time, and it was a nice little clip they did. Hopefully it's the only one that's gonna happen.
Did that air last night?
It did, yeah, so, was that Channel 2 and Fox 31? It aired around 9:30, I think. But yeah, we're reopened, the restrooms, like I mentioned in my update last week, are still closed, both second floor and down here. We'll keep the trailer on site until we're ready to reopen. Second floor may open, on Monday. And if that's the case, we are gonna probably remove the trailer from out here, and then library patrons can use the second floor restroom. The library restrooms are having some repairs done, some new partitions installed between, the toilets and some other things done, and that should be happening hopefully the week of the 27th. We're back open that week, so, just waiting on parts. And then, the security, we're still working out some kinks with that, like you got it here tonight, and the doors were locked, which we're having issues with the city hall doors as it is, but, the security left at 5:30 tonight. They're supposed to stay till 7:30. Not a huge deal yet, 'cause it's a pretty slow start for us, which is just fine. But we're working with the company to get this all figured out. They did tell us once we approved it, council, it'd be about 30 days to get the actual permanent allied security. Dwight, who you probably met or experienced when you come in here, he will be permanent. We've asked for him to be down here, but in the interim, he's been kind of training all the newbies that are walking through, so. Yeah, it's been really nice. My fingers crossed that this all works and some of the issues we saw previously will be reduced. Not eliminated, we know we're still gonna get some, but I had a meeting this afternoon that was super exciting. So the Halo units, which are in a lot of schools, that detect particulates in the air. So somebody smokes, vapes, whatever, in our restrooms, it'll actually do an audible alarm. It also sends notifications. They did a demo with us today. It was awesome. The stuff that these things can do is almost scary. If you're in the restroom and you need medical help and you just say the word help, it picks it up and will call dispatch or notify our security to come check on you. It detects gunshot. Also, if somebody were to get in a fight in the restroom or nearby, it also detects that as well. So it does a lot of really cool stuff. They said we could probably have that installed by the end of the month. Super cool.
Just curious, if it can pick up someone saying help, does it also pick up someone asking for help in like commonly other language?
Probably not. Probably not. Yeah, that's a good question. I did not ask that. I didn't even think about that. But I'll find out. That's interesting. Yeah, right. I'll find out because I know you can program what it's listening for. So you might be listening for emergency or, oh no, I don't know. You can program it for a lot of different things. But technology is nuts. And it links to our camera systems and every around here. And so if somebody goes in there and let's say they just fake marijuana and it picks it up, that it triggers the cameras to immediately hone in on the restroom door. And so when that person walks out, it captures them and then it will follow them. Super creepy.
That's what you're
Very
losing.
Big brother, but for good.
Really cool stuff. So I know we're gonna be one of the first libraries to get this system in place, and I have a feeling a lot more will be following as well, so. And it's really not that expensive. I think all in, it's probably at most 1,800 per unit, which I thought was really reasonable. And they're figuring out the square footage and how many we need, but it's most likely one in each restroom, so 4 units total for upstairs. Yeah.
Much cheaper than redoing bathrooms.
Yeah, it really, yeah. And honestly, for me, and I know for staff, to get people to stop doing drugs in the restrooms where we have common people going in there, we want to protect everybody. Just those audible alarms, so you go in there and smoke and it goes off. Hopefully they never come back and smoke in the restroom. You can come to the library, just don't come back and smoke in there and do stuff you shouldn't, so.
Are there also posted like rules on those doors? I know back and forth about like, these bathrooms are being monitored.
They will be,
Yeah, we don't have it now because they're not open.
Right,
So,
right,
yeah,
right.
but we will have that type of signage. Because I think not just the monitor of the Halo unit, but that it will be like monitored by the security staff of the library, who will just be checking in the library or in the restrooms to make sure that there's nothing, untoward going on in there, so. But we do plan to have that type of signage, not just on the doors, but inside the bathrooms as well.
and those signage may go up even before the units are installed because you don't know what you don't know and hey, so, yeah. Any questions on anything?
The reopening actually made it on Colorado Public Radio.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, I heard it. They were
And I've,
doing their news update at 5 or 5:30.
I've heard from people I haven't spoken with about the library before. So that is open
Yeah.
at school, so.
That was actually really welcoming and nice. I mean, I think it added to the excitement. It was like first day of school almost.
Yeah.
So anxious to open the doors and then when we did, everyone was so kind and
And
generous.
we rearranged
Yeah.
quite a bit of furniture as well to just, some of it was in like, sorry, I'm kind of losing my speaking skills, but like the goal was to just like redirect patron behavior by
Yeah.
just changing where we were positioning some of the seating and stuff like that, just to make it, look a little bit different. But everybody's been pretty pleasant about coming back in, that they're happy.
And there's still like one entrance, the other entrance. Plan is to keep the north side closed indefinitely. We are doing a feasibility study to maybe make this the entrance over here, more to come on that. But honestly, this, in 2 days, it's nice. You're not on a swivel the whole time you're in the library watching both doors. And so,
Have people like tried to come to that?
no, those doors are actually still locked on the north side,
Okay.
so they're not.
Like, 'cause the whole lobby is
whole lobby
closed, they
closed,
haven't
okay.
finished the repairs.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, we did put up signage yesterday that says the library is open and please use the south
Yeah.
lobby entrance, so.
Okay.
So entrance changes that, like, that big tree horse or whatever,
Yeah.
that's like, where would that just? The lobby is still gonna be open as a lobby for the rest of the civic center once the repairs are done. It's just not gonna be an entry point.
Like that'll be available as.
Okay.
You know, I realize this is still kind of speculative, but if the door were moved over this way, is that covered like from the parking garage?
It's not,
Yeah.
and that's one thing we're looking at is, I mean, we probably wouldn't cover it, it'd be quite expensive.
Yeah, that's why I've always used this one.
Yeah. Sure. Well, and this may change behavior. I mean, we thought that this middle part would be perfect, because we have people entering from both sides, and they've been doing it for years. Let's make it in the middle, so it's like park on that side or this, but ultimately, if this south side is the only side that's open for a while, we'll get used to it. And that may not even be trying to do it.
Staff and service.
So as I mentioned, kind of during the action plan, we do want to do 3 different days that we would close the library to the public. The first, we were originally going to plan 4, but one of them happened during the closure, so just kind of took that off the table and utilized the time we had to do an all-staff meeting last week. So June 16th, this would just be like an in-service where we're just kind of working on various projects depending on the staff. And then September 15th would be our formal staff development day, where we will have presentations, possibly outside speakers, and really kind of focus on professional development. And then December 15th would be sort of an in-service sort of slash like staff appreciation type thing. So those would be 3 dates we would close to the public. They're all Fridays as well.
I have a quick question just to make sure that this doesn't align with a school in-service day, because parents tend to bring their kids to the libraries on school.
I can look at that. So you might have the calendar.
I can pull it up though.
June 16th is fine.
Okay, that's summer, so that's, yeah, no problem there.
Are schools still in session?
Yes.
That's not true.
And that one, I don't think.
I suspect,
an issue.
so none of those dates are gonna conflict.
The 15th would be the only maybe. Sarah,
That's just right after, yeah, a long Labor Day, a couple weeks after.
It is, September 15th is a teacher work day. There are a lot of random days off in the fall.
Yeah, my suggestion would just not be closed on the same day that the school's closed, but
Yeah,
But-
that's a good point.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, yeah, so.
Would also say that the parents will.
Maybe we make it the 22nd? Because I don't want to do it in the same week that we have Labor Day,
Yeah.
then that's 2 days in a week.
Yeah.
So maybe the 22nd?
sorry. if
That was a
I-
really, no, that was a great one.
Yeah, thank you very much, Andy, for catching that. Okay, so we would revise the September date to the 22nd.
That change I would move to approve it. On the roll.
I'll second that. All right, all those in favor of approving staff in service date? Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay,
Great, thank you.
then the study results.
So this is sort of, this is kind of one of my personal goals for this ongoing future, to kind of update and revise some of our policies. So we have on the library's website, there is currently a meeting room use policy that includes study rooms, the public meeting rooms, that's the one we're in, as well as the technology lab. But in light of the situations that we've just kind of gotten through with behavior issues and drug use and stuff like that, we wanted to make some changes, particularly to the study room. So the study rooms has got the biggest changes. Although many things are still the same, and we've just kind of clarified them and made the points more kind of succinct. So same day reservations only, that's something that we've always done. And if somebody wanted to request advanced registration, it would have to be approved by me. Reservations can be made in person, by phone, or by email. The full name of the person reserving the room needs to be provided, along with an email address and or phone number. This actually came up because of the unexpected closure. We had people on the day we closed had reservations for that evening that we had to contact, but we had no way of contacting them. So like, while we're saying same day use, there may be times where we need to contact a person. So we want to make sure we're maintaining some contact information for the person reserving it. But then they also need to include the names of all members of a group that would also be in that use. Because the usage is 2 hours per day per patron, whether it's individual or as part of a group. And that rule has already been in existence. That's been the case, but that hasn't always been enforced. So that's something we're revisiting with staff too, that like, please make sure you know who's, using the room and all the parties using a room, so that they don't come back later and a different person asks for a room. Because we have had that happen and then kind of just let it slide, but we're trying to enforce that. We will also be enforcing the 2 hours per day. We used to say if nobody has a reservation after, you can keep using it. We will be enforcing the 2 hour limit and asking people to vacate the room when the 2 hours is over, to allow the potential for use to be available. Because if people just stay in there and somebody comes in, they see somebody in the study room, they may not ask for a study room because they don't know that person is like in extra time. So we're going to be, more strictly enforcing that. Also, for study rooms that are left empty or unattended for more than 20 minutes, that is not going to be allowed. So if somebody that we have the security staff has been instructed to be keeping kind of a closer eye on study room usage, because this was a very widely used thing by many different types of patrons. They would get study rooms, put their stuff in there, and just leave, and then come back like an hour later. It was just ridiculous, and it would tie up the study room use, and they're not even in the room. So if the room is basically unattended for more than 20 minutes, if it's completely empty, we'll just assume the person finished and just didn't tell a staff person, and then the study room will be marked available in our computer system. If there are personal belongings in there, they will be removed and put in our lost and found and the session forfeited. And we will not be allowing sleeping in the study room or the furniture.
Misuse of furniture being lying down on it.
Yes, like using the chairs as like a way to lay down and stuff like that. So no sleeping on the floor, no sleeping in the chairs. Like really strictly no sleeping in the study rooms. We want to maintain the study rooms for productive use. So
Does misuse need to be defined?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I like keeping it vague.
Okay.
Gives you some,
Yeah.
it gives you some.
I was just thinking of like attorney things. This is not nearly as strict as the code of conduct. Okay.
That's an informed. Why you wouldn't have done something?
So that's what one of the kind of like training points we're using with the staff is to say, when you're reserving a room for a person, let them know if they finish before the 2 hours are up. If they could just let the staff people know at the desk, that'd be helpful. But if they don't, like that's the other thing, the security guards, when they walk around every hour, they will be like kind of checking, and then they're able to look at the reservations as well for study room usage. And they will also be giving like a 15-20 minute heads up to the patron, like, hey, your time is going to be up in about 15 minutes. Just want to make you be aware. I'll come by and let you know when your time is complete. And we're also saying to the patrons, your time is up. You need to vacate the room so we can prepare it for the next user, whether there's a reservation or not. And so and then we will be having the staff that are stationed in the reference desk, kind of going behind and just kind of cleaning down the tables and stuff like that, just to keep it nice. So that's the big change for the study room. Meeting rooms is basically the same. The only thing that's different on here that I added was, because at the very end, it says publicity for meetings is the responsibility of the renter. And they may not list the library as a sponsor or encourage the public to contact the library for information without explicit approval from the library manager. So if we wanted to come to an agreement with a group to do something like that, we could, as long as I'm aware of it and plan it out with the user. So that's the only thing I changed for the meeting rooms. And then the technology lab, we kind of separated this out because it was lumped in with the meeting rooms. The technology lab will be used primarily for classes and general instruction, led by library staff. And that outside of those scheduled times, the public can use the lab as long as they have a library account, an active library account number. So that's either a full, limited, or computer use access card. No guest passes will be allowed. Guest passes are intended to be 30 minutes only. And the usage for computers in the tech lab is 180 minutes. So it's sort of like a misuse of our guest pass to let people use 180 minutes when they don't have a registered card. We will not be extending past that 3-hour time limit. And then we will have, this is more explicit in here, that users understand that if they, this is supposed to say 15 minutes, sorry, I didn't update that. If they walk away from their session for more than 15 minutes, it will automatically log them out, because we've had people complain about that I got locked out, but we don't do it. It happens automatically if you've left your station for more than minutes and it's idle and not doing anything. So we'll be having that clearly posted in the room as well. And that users need to save their work on external devices or a cloud drive, as files cannot be saved to the library workstation, and food and drink will not be allowed in the technology lab.
Does your technology services at the city have any heartburn about people plugging in USB drives to laptop or computers here?
Like Fort Knox and the libraries.
Okay, great.
primarily.
Because I know our city would lose their minds. if
Yeah,
they were
I mean,
playing
I don't think so, because then that's the thing, like, technically you can save things to the workstation while you're using it, but if you log off, even if you log back in with the same library card, those items are not there.
Yeah, and the public computers are set up very differently, like these computers, so there's firewalls and they're not even, I don't think they're even connected to the actual city drives at all, so. Yeah.
So that's why, like, people, for like a temporary thing, if you're downloading something out of your email and then you want to print it, you can do that. It's just, it doesn't say stay there. So we're trying to really encourage people to be mindful of saving their work. We do offer flash drives for sale. So if they need an external drive, we do have them available. So we'll be putting some more obvious signage in there about the time limit for when your machine will go idle and the save your work. Often.
How would people do it?
Yeah, I mean, we don't have, but that's the thing, we've actually been talking about trying to put together like a price list, if you will, of like bag. We don't have any bags anymore because we haven't purchased any new ones, but like bags, flash drives, charging cords, things that we have available.
Yeah.
Earbuds, stuff like that. So we've been talking about putting that together so that we can have it clear that these are items we actually charge for. Like,
Yeah.
we don't just give them out.
Yeah.
And we do have a set of loaner things like charging cords and stuff like that that we label. We don't always get them back, but we try it. So we're trying to be a little bit more enforcing that these items are actually for purchase, not just for giveaways.
Yeah.
So the earbuds are a little bit different because they are really, really cheap. And we were talking about getting maybe 2 different sets of earbuds, like ones that we would actually sell because they're a little bit higher quality, and ones that because you just don't have them, and that they're like 15 cents each, basically, you buy them in bulk. So
I bought some earbuds at Dollar Tree. Next time I'm going to $2 Tree.
right? I mean, they're not the best quality, but they work, and it's helpful for us to keep people using earbuds. So having those kind of cheaper ones that they might even only work 1 or 2 times. But it's better to be able to manage that by giving them away. But then having maybe a second tier of ones that we sell. About that too.
The Bose love them.
I mean, I don't think they really have to be like approved so much as like, what I've kind of seen when I've looked at past policies, I've seen them say like endorsed by the library board or supported or something like that. I just wanted to share it.
Yeah.
Because like when we have things that revolve around rules, knowing that we have the support of the library board helps back up the library staff. So that's really, it's not so much like, we basically put these into place yesterday.
Yeah.
But I wanted to share this as like kind of a change, because this is something that we're putting in place in response to the situation that we've just gotten through. So approval might not be the right word, but support and or endorsement, I don't know how formal you want to get with it.
I look good to me. Right. I will go to that meeting.
That's pretty good with that. If any of you, anybody else wants to go to the CIP meeting on April 24th, speak now and put you on the list. If you want to attend virtually, let us know and we can send you the link to that. Otherwise, you're welcome to attend in person. Typically, I think Parks and Rec and Library will be kind of towards the top of the agenda. So as soon as we're done with this, you can come.
Okay.
And what's CIP's capital improvement projects? Yeah.
It's my highest anxiety.
Oh.
Anything we need to do.
And the longest.
Do I need to say anything? Or is, am I just attending?
I don't think you really have to say anything. I think you're asked more like questions.
Okay.
Do you have any questions about what CFP is?
Okay.
I will just say that I don't know if we did a great job framing this last year and kind of setting
Yeah.
the board for success in
I
modeling.
remember that.
This is it'll be a study session, I believe, right? And so this is the time for us to learn, right? So
Okay.
departments will present, hey, these are the capital needs that we have, because ultimately, the city council will make a budget allocation towards those needs, and we'll get all the priorities and we'll weigh them against each other. And so to the extent that this group will want to make a recommendation,
Yeah.
then this is an opportunity for you to ask questions of staff.
Got it.
In that, we will pause for questions from council and then also open it up to other. And that will then.
And so just an example, the feasibility study for the sex over
Yeah.
here, originally, when I talked to a previous project manager, he's like, oh, $30,000. And now I'm talking to the new staff that do more construction, they're like $250,000 for this. I'm like, ooh, okay. But this is a good example that if all of you are like, yeah, we really want to move forward with this, let's put this as part of CIP, then that's a chance for not only myself to be there and say, hey, this is the study, it's gonna be $250,000 endorsed by the library board. You could say, yes, we'd love to have this happen for X, Y, and Z reasons. That's just an example of it. So most likely won't have that number by this meeting, so it's probably a 2024, 25 project if we go in that direction, but more to come.
You, just refresh my memory, what we did in the library.
So, the feasibility study, just to figure out, the flow of the library and entrance, and then, emergency exits as well. So we originally proposed like the parent room down there, so if you ever had a meeting or something happened, that would be an emergency exit right by that room. We have an emergency exit right here, but we already made an emergency exit out of the north doors, and so we're kind of doing some things on the Jeep. Versus construction. So those were only the two items that we included. And Greta sent out that list of kind of the wish list of the future. And so keep dreaming. And if you see things in other libraries like, oh, we really want to do that, we can add them to the list. All right. Next one. I'll just mention, since it's going to happen before our next April Hop and Shop, our spring event is happening on Saturday, April 1st. And it's 10 to 2. Our 8 hunt kicks off at 11. Get there early if you're bringing the kids. At Bellevue Park, yep. So
They're like vendors.
Yeah, we're gonna actually have a market there, and there's gonna be vendors. A lot of city booths will be there, handing out free stuff. Library will be there. So yeah, it's fun.
It's bigger than, like, I feel like it was more of just an egg hunt.
I think past years it was an egg hunt. Like last year, we had vendors set up on the
Okay.
top area of Bellevue, kind of close to the little airplane. Yeah.
When is the sensory? Is that earlier?
Question. I think they kick off all at 11. The sensory egg hunt will be up on the 10th floor.
So it's just physically separate as far as the morning.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah.
And we got beefy eggs
Yeah.
this year. We didn't have beefy eggs last year, so we have beefy eggs for anybody that's visually impaired.
They influence the head of code enforcement on driving.
Yeah, he's
great.
My item that I have to share is actually, I'm trying to always look for things that we can ask you all to do. So the Colorado Association of Libraries sent information out to library directors about legislative day. So it was actually yesterday where, library staff members kind of go and speak in person to legislators. But the big push that they're wanting people to kind of send out and promote among their elected officials on the state level is that the Colorado Library Consortium, which is also known as CLIC, which provides the statewide courier system, they have not had an increase in funding in 17 years. And so the courier, I just sent out a thing to Debbie asking her to send in you guys the flyer that just has this information about like what CLIC provides on behalf of taxpayers through the services that they provide, that they save, over $9 million a year compared to USPS costs. So like not mailing things around, but couriering stuff around themselves. And they save the libraries and therefore taxpayers over $23 million every year by providing that ability to share materials across institutions. And so what they're asking for, and like the library community is asking the legislature for, is to increase the budget by $150,000 so that CLIC can expand things a little bit more. One of the things I did learn recently is that they actually contract out the actual couriering. So the people that drive the truck around moving the bins between libraries across the entire state is an outside kind of contracted thing. And so there's a lot of loss of control, quality control over that. So and just hearing that they haven't seen any more funding in over 17 years, I just feel like, yeah, this is a good thing that we can try to get behind as just supporters of public libraries and all libraries really, because CLIC serves not just public libraries, but school libraries, academic libraries, special libraries and things like that. So they have a flyer kind of outlining some of the key points and are just asking people to like try to figure out who your elected official is at the state level and just kind of get that word out to say, hey, consider
Nick
more
Froelich
funding
and-
for
and-
CLIC.
And Bridges,
I was like, Bridget, yeah, he's on.
Bridges and Froelich.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure Nick is too, but
Yeah.
it's 150 grand, like it's around here.
Yeah,
So I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah. So those are this is kind of like
Appreciate
those
it.
little things where you can just like send out a message. And I feel like they might have sample language, and I'll look for that too, Debbie. And if I have it, I will make sure that that's included because I feel like they might have sent us.
Well, even just like those stats that you rattled off,
Yeah.
like that would be super helpful. just
Right,
to, like,
yeah, 'cause like that's, so that's what's in the
Copy and
flyer, and then you can just be like, hey, these are the things that this provides, like additional funding could go a long way for them. So that's my ask. So yeah, just looking for opportunities that I like you guys can engage in some more conference. That's all I got.
Or any from the school.
Yay, okay, good.
We just finished our 5-year strategic plan. Scott's gonna read this aloud to everybody. I do have a couple copies here. You can find it on the school district website if you would like to read it as well. So it was a lot of work. We did a lot of community meetings, went to a lot of different, and all kinds of different conversations about it, but it's nice to have that done. I think, my apologies, I did miss the last 2 meetings. We had a conflict with school board meetings on the same night, but I think the last time I was here, I told you we were in the midst of a search for the next superintendent. The current superintendent is gone June 30th. She's retiring. And we have our replacement superintendent in place. You may have seen some announcements on that. But the current deputy superintendent, Joanna Folsom, will be moving into that role on July 1st formally. So, so that's that. Budget. Good. This year we have been able to the last 6 or 7 years, been able to kind of ride the wave a little bit due to some different things. School budget financing is a horribly complex. It's a nightmare. But we were able to average sort of student stuff and kind of mitigate some of the lack of enrollment over the last 5 years. That's over. All the big federal funds from the last couple of years gone. So this next round of budget conversations a little bit more painful than normal. So and then May 16th, if anybody's interested, we will be having a kind of an open forum night for anyone who's interested in running for one of the 2 board seats that are up this fall. So we have 2 folks that are coming to the end of this term. They're both eligible to run again. I don't know if they're going to run again, but again, if anyone's interested in learning more about being a board member now or at some point in the future, May 16th, come on by, and it'll be on the website, as on the English Schools website as well.
You have one of the, I know that there are posters about enrollment. Have those on hand? Can you?
I don't
give
have
those
the
to the library?
but we have them.
Okay.
Can certainly put that stuff.
Yeah.
From there, we can just bulk it.
Yeah.
That would be fine. Yeah.
Because the story book, or the story time room is open, I think.
Oh, yeah, that'd be a perfect place for it.
Yes.
I will see if I can I just connect somebody with you on those posters? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
A sense of what your enrollment gap is or what you would like.
we don't have any numbers what we'd like to increase to. I mean, we have capacity, we could add capacity. So it's interesting, in a few of the schools, like we still have a waiting list at the early childhood center, right? But then we have some of the schools we're looking at, maybe next year we down to like 1 per grade level. So we're having all those kind of conversations, and then, you know, some of the positions, you know, in the district were grant funded or funded out of, you know, one-time federal money. So some of those things, and those are typically support positions, right? Paras and things like that. So, and then of course you always get a little bit of attrition every year, and people move on, go do something else somewhere. So figuring out that balance of how many of those can we not backfill a few of those roles without without class sizes going probably high. Yeah, so no target number, just, I mean, I would love to have every building completely full. That does a lot of really good. But I don't know. I don't have a number for you. It's a good question.
I'll share a couple things. One is, between the last meeting and this meeting, the council had a conversation around the security measures, and I just wanted to share about that decision and how that can be. There were a couple members of us on council who said, and middle sectors feel like they would change the feeling a lot, and if that's where we need to get there. And there were also a lot of members on council who said, ooh, that might feel like too much as our first go at it, of just how do we think about the feeling of families who are entering the library. And so the decision where we had consensus was to increase it to the additional security, adding the armed guard, trying some of those things first. And I think that conversation can and should continue, right? We will see how that works. And that as we continue to discuss the needs of the library, but that felt like maybe an incremental step right now for council for the investment in all of the equipment, the full extent of the first step. And so that's the reasoning behind that and how that vote shook out. And then also, I'll just name this as library related, but as some folks may be aware, we're having a lot of conversations right now about affordability and housing and the current land use policy in the city. And so I just wanted to make myself available if anyone has questions about any of those conversations that are currently happening. Obviously, we are all connected through our service on this board and available. A lot.
I just wanted to shout out, not that Ms. Kimberly needs a shout out, but I got her in touch with our principal at Clayton because we do not have a librarian, and interestingly, the math scores at Clayton are like better than the reading scores. The principal attributed some of that to like kids just aren't reading, and so Kimberly has been helping put together some book lists for different units for different grades. So it's going to take a while to get them all. Really started like putting together book lists that can be presented to the family. Really cool. So I
love
that is
burger too.
Yeah.
Get free burgers for reading.
We need to.
We're pushing that out on social media probably Thursday.
But that's something that could go out in all the schools. If they send them.
Oh,
That would be a good thing.
Yeah, like we have like
So
a reading incentive program going on right now.
Yeah.
Sponsored by Underhill.
So this email I owe you that's getting longer and
Yeah.
longer. I'm going to connect you with the marketing folks,
Okay, cool.
right? Marketing people. I'll connect you with a couple different people. Yeah.
That sounds great.
We would love to, I'm sure they would love to push out any library stuff.
Yeah.
Especially
Yeah.
Mm.
It was a long 5 weeks.
Go.
Well, it was an extra week. All right, well, at 8:29, I think we can adjourn. Thank you all.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.